Yo, what's going on, guys? My name's Mitsuo. We're gonna watch an apparently Jack 2v2 replay today, and this is my first video kind of like this, and hopefully you enjoy watching the pros as much as I do. Apparently Jack is absolutely one of my favorite players and definitely a good role model if you're looking to learn from one of the better players in the world. So yeah, thought we'd just watch this replay and maybe soak in some knowledge and apply some of the stuff that we learned from him into our own games. So yeah, let's just get going. I haven't watched this replay before. This was just a recent Ranked 2s game that he was in. So let's talk about the kickoff. He cheats up and it's sort of a losing kickoff, but what he does is apply a lot of pressure onto Taroko here, because it's pretty common for the second person following up or cheating to then head toward the ball or the boost. In this case, Taroko is going for both, and Jack just wants to put a lot of pressure on. If he were to cheat all the way up and then just turn around and go back to net, it's going to alleviate all the pressure from Taroko, and he's going to have a great time setting up a really good shot or a really good pass. So he forces him to basically screw up the possession, and Taroko does a good job regardless, but Jack just gets back and makes sure he gets a decent touch to clear the ball. Obviously the ball went way higher than Jack kind of wanted here, but it was at a pretty decent height to begin with. So he gets the clear, and he's trying to get this corner boost here. And as soon as he does, he notices that his teammate gets a 50. Pretty much as the second man in 2v2, this is what you're looking out for most of the time, is every single challenge that happens that you're not involved in. That way you can follow up the ball, or at least do your best to make a smart choice as soon as the challenge is concluded. So the ball goes straight in the air, and it looks like Taroko's caught a little bit out of place here. He might have expected a better 50 from his teammate. So the 50 goes pretty much in the favor of the blue team here, and Jack just decides to push it. Maybe he's looking for a double tap, or maybe he just wanted to force Taroko's hand, which is also a really good play. Because if Jack shoots this, Taroko can get a good save and corner the ball and put it in a much safer place for the orange team. So Jack wants to force his hand by either making Taroko jump for a crazy shot, or maybe he's not shooting here at all, and that's totally fine too. Just as long as it applies pressure on the opponent's net, which is the entire goal there, right? So putting the ball above their net is a great place for your team to have the ball, right? So you can get a good rebound, people double tap all the time, or you can just wait the ball out. The opponent is under a lot of pressure. So that was a really good choice. It was a great 50 from apparently Jack's teammate, and then a great awareness by Jack to just follow it up. Alright, so the second kickoff here, the same thing happens except it goes to the right. That's why you see Par over there putting a lot of pressure onto the guy in the air. This is very smart kind of movement by Jack here. We're in a losing kickoff scenario, and Jack gives his teammate very adequate space here. Like, he's waiting to see if his teammate wants to challenge, but he's also waiting to see if his teammate gets beat if he does challenge. So he's playing it patient, and he's letting the guy in the air, do what he's doing. And he's just connecting the dots, right? Like, against his teammate and the opponent. And then since it doesn't look like Par wants to jump for this, or maybe he's a little late, Jack decides to use the backboard. The backboard is a perfect spot to play defense against a guy who's doing an aerial, like, kind of close to the ceiling. And you can tell that Jack isn't even sweating here. He makes a kind of a bad touch, but routinely Jack should clear this to the corner but not only clear it to the corner, but like control it and maybe, you know, take a dribble all the way up the wall. So he kind of rushes this next touch because he made such a poor touch on the backboard. And now here, he doesn't need boost, even though they're kind of under pressure here. He kind of just passed Taroko the ball. I mean, there isn't any boost to begin with in front of him, but he just positions his car into the best spot he can. And look, he's at 20 boost this whole time. He hasn't even touched his boost button. So remain on the backboard, just because the opponent's in the air, it's a great place to be. If the opponent was on the ground, you could easily like just challenge them. But this is fine. And Par should be in the net. That's his teammate. Oops, sorry. Yeah, so his teammate's just a bit out of position here. And if you were Par, you would notice that apparently Jack is up on the backboard and you need to cover the low ground. Basically, somewhere inside the net while Jack covers the above the net. So we'll see if Jack gets the nice save. He does. He gets a clear as well, which is phenomenal because now Par can move forward and both orange team members have their back to the blue team, right? So this creates a lot of pressure, and Jack only used 20 boost. Like literally, boost wasn't even a thought, right? In that defensive play, all he did was notice that both offensive attempts by the orange team were in the air, so he just got on the backboard. And you should go in free play and train the ball being shot at you while you're up on the backboard. It's a really good way to get comfortable up there and learn how to control the ball. That way you're not up there and then the ball comes and you just smack it right back to the other team. Kind of like Jack did, but routinely he would control the ball 100% of the time. He's waiting for a touch to either come to him here as second man, or whenever the opponents touch the ball and then it's not controlled by them, which he kind of sees a little bit of a hole here because this is a hard touch right at Taroko, who then kind of just blocks the shot from Par, but it's not necessarily out of danger for the orange team, and that's why Jack jumps on this opportunity. Good job by the Diaz guy there to kind of cover that hole. So great demo. If you're ever the guy recovering in your 2v2 matches like this, you want to challenge or at least put a lot of pressure on the ball carrier, because you don't want to leave Par here in a 2v1 or a 1v1, right? And this is an excellent move by Jack. It requires not a lot of skill to do that, right? You just got to recognize that you're recovering and Par needs help. Okay, he gets 2 demos in a row. This is really, really good. He only has 31 boost, so I'm not sure if he'll jump for this. He doesn't even have to, by the way. He's just playing the possession. Taroko, we can just kind of rewind this real quick. He gets the demo, and he recognizes, because he has car cam on, don't ever have ball cam on, you're going to be staring all the way up in the sky. You can get a whole visual idea of where everyone is on the field, right? If you have car cam on you. And that's exactly what Jack does. He looks at his boost. He has 31. There's no point going in the air here. Possess the ball and let the defender come and waste his position, right? Really smart by Jack, getting a flick. And now look how disruptive Jack was here to the orange team. Like, the orange team really didn't have a lot of options other than to panic and maybe even double commit. That's kind of what happens sometimes when you're panicking and you're not in a good defensive spot. And they both just got demoed, remember, so that's a huge reason why Jack and his teammate are allowed to create such pressure against the defense, right? So another fantastic play. Just recognizing where Jack needs to put his car. And when I say that, I mean it kind of applies to nearly every second you're on the pitch in Rocket League. whether you're controlling the ball, shooting, defending, anything, right? So earlier we saw him get up on the backboard twice, and it worked out perfectly because that's exactly where he needed to be. There, he decides not to jump in the air for that ball with 31 boosts because that's where he needs to be. He needs to stay on the ground. He has his car cam on, and he sees that both opponents aren't anywhere near the ball. He can take his time and get a nice flick. Okay, so cheats up here, and again creates a lot of pressure. Unfortunate he misses, but that's not really the point here, because the point is to just pressure the defense. See how back Taroko, like he kind of had to retreat there in case Jack touched that ball. Now we're kind of in a bad position here if we're Jack, because we just left our teammate in a 2 versus 1. Yeah, and that's going to be very, very hard. So I'm sure, you know, if this was like your solo queue game, if you were Jack and you missed, just say sorry, try to get that touch next time, and maybe you don't even need to jump for this ball. Maybe Jack's already talking to himself. Maybe he's saying, look, I wasn't right in my mind to jump this early. The ball's not even anywhere near me. Maybe I can get a demo next time, and then we would get a 2v1 against the opponents, right? There's always something you could be doing better, especially if you get scored on, right? Okay, so Jack delays a kickoff. Always switch up your kickoffs. I would practice your kickoffs a lot. Okay, so Jack's waiting for the touch. Right here is the touch. So your teammate, if your teammate's first man like this, you don't need to be anywhere near him. You don't even need to be in the opponent's half, really. Because a bad pinch or a bad loss of the ball could easily happen. The opponents could get the ball and then they start pushing this way, right? So Jack is around the midfield, like literally dead center in the middle of the field, and he can make any choice to go in any direction now. So he reads the touch, and he knows he has a jump, right? Again, a little risky because Jack's last man. As last man, you can't always make that assumption, knowing even if the ball's coming right at you, kind of like it is. And he knows it was risky before he jumped, but he just had a great, you know, a good feeling that if he jumps the gun here, that, you know, he might get a touch. But what's really interesting here is the orange team has recognized that Jack and his teammate have done this over and over, right? They commit one dude, and then a 50 happens, and then the second guy comes up, right? And Diaz here is doing a phenomenal job at cutting off the second man's opportunity and the rebound, right? And to score 2 goals like that by really just cutting the offense's legs off, right? They're just really decapitating the offense by cutting through there, and that's really smart and really fast, and it's kind of crazy how great defense turns into goals, right? Alright, so let's see what the kickoff is. We lose the kickoff, that's why Jack doesn't need to jump for this, he goes for the boost, and then he tries to control the shot, or the ball, excuse me. Controlling the ball here is the right play, right? It's gonna throw away too many opportunities if you start jumping for this ball. I mean, just ask yourself, is it likely that you're gonna jump off your backboard and score the ball, or at least put it in a favorable position without the defense just taking it from you, right? And it's really not gonna happen. That's why you need to control touches like this. And Jack beats both of them here. He gets a monster flick, and it forces the opponent's hand, and that's really all you want to do in 1s, 2s, and 3s, really. So take control and push toward the offense. Don't throw away all your opportunities. Okay, this is good shadow defense. No over-committing by Jack, really. Like, the times he's gotten scored on, he honestly thought he had a good chance to touch those balls, right? And it was just phenomenal defense by Diaz. So, but otherwise in the midfield, there's no like overcommit double commit, jumping for useless balls, right? So kind of maintain your composure and just read these touches. The opponent touches the ball here, so it's gonna already give Jack a couple key like signs, right? Kind of cues. So his first cue is now he notices that par is out of the play, so par should go back. So if par turns back, Jack can jump for this ball, possibly, because par's gonna have his back. Par doesn't really turn back instantly, he kind of chases the ball, which he doesn't need to do that. Jack's already here. But Jack makes a single jump touch anyway. Single jumping here is ideal. I think he might have used his double jump, but no flipping. Flipping is going to launch the ball, and the ball doesn't need to be launched here. It needs to be kind of tamed and controlled. So when Jack jumps up the wall like this, his main goal was to either launch it in the air toward the opponent's net, or it would go right back down to the floor, and he would control some sort of offensive dribble. If he were to jump and then use his double jump like a front flip, this ball could pinch backwards or right down this lane, and this opponent here could get a free open net, right? So just maintaining the shape of your car, but he just uses one jump, two jump, and then just touches it with the top of his car. That's really all he does. He's trying to get a controlled touch. It goes behind him, which is unfortunate. But now par rotates back, he's got a teammate back. So he should be here, he should be staying here and, you know, putting pressure on the orange team, which he is right now. He notices that they make a poor touch. This touch right here is really bad. Maybe the orange team just had a miscommunication, who knows? So again, Jack's trying to control the ball, keep it in his possession. Maybe even pass toward his teammate here. Whatever he does, he doesn't want to launch it away from him and his team, and then they end up losing the ball, right? So right here, when you're in your ranked games, pay attention to not only what boost pads are up, but like how easy or hard it's going to be for you to obtain that boost pad. Everyone wants this 100 boost pad over here in the corner, and it's just not likely that you're going to get it before this guy is, or even your teammate, right? And you got to realize that when you're on 0 boost, and it's unlikely that you're going to be able to beat someone to a boost, and then look at your goal, it's wide open, right? So that's why Jack grabs all of these mini pads and utilizes those rather than the corner. So he gets 36 boost, and realistically he could have got, I think, 1 or 2 more pads, but 36 is plenty, you know? Well, what a ceiling challenge, that's ridiculous. I mean, yeah, he shuts down this entire aerial. Realistically, it is a bit risky to do this before your teammate is heading back. But I think right about now, Jack trusts that par is going to rotate back to net, and par should be able to look right at Jack here and see that he's going up into the ceiling, and that should give him a cue to rush back to the net, just in case Jack gets beat, or if he gets like a whiff or something, right? But he does a fantastic job. He remains close to this ball. This is really smart. There's no need to commit with like flips or jumps, kind of like Jack did here, because it kind of wastes your position. Maybe he was going for a demo there, I'm not really sure. But if he didn't jump, he would already be probably ready to bump Diaz or back pass to his teammate, something like that. Now he has 0 boost, right? And he's under a lot of pressure. Yeah. He almost got scored on. And realistically, wow, what a save. Realistically, they wouldn't have got so close to being scored on there if Jack didn't make this corner jump. Right here. Because it kind of commits him into the corner for just a bit too long. And I'm not, you know, telling Jack how to play the game. That's pretty absurd. But I'm sure that's the lesson that Jack took from this play. And he's a very smart player. Like, why he is so smart is because he focuses on limiting all of his mistakes. And I'm sure he can tell that that was almost a pretty big mistake. And he'll learn from it. Alright, so gets a save. He's still 0 boost, unfortunately. But yeah, his teammate gets a phenomenal save. Still 0 boost. That bump really helps. Okay, so now we're in the same position we were in the beginning of the game, where no one's in net because it was right after like a challenge or something. And Jack has adequate space between him and his teammate. And this is time for him to just watch. He can just pay attention to when his teammate challenges. And if his teammate doesn't get a challenge, he's got his back. He's gonna challenge, right? And the orange team has gone in the air, I think, almost every possession. And that's why he's up on that backboard really early. What a pass. Oh, that's really unfortunate. So he's got supersonic speed and a lot of boost. All he has to do here is create pressure against the orange team, or the guy with the ball. So a fake challenge will work, a demo will work. What won't work here is flipping into the ball and committing your whole car. And I've said that kind of like 3, 4, 5 times this video. But you really don't want to commit your whole position into their corner, into their, you know, deep into their half. When you don't have to. You really don't have to. And he created so much pressure there by just driving right at the opponent and making really smart touches. Okay, so unfortunately that touch doesn't do much, this one here. Maybe he was trying to bait an opponent to jump for that ball, but I'm sure they waited it out and just collected it. Okay, so here's a situation you'll find yourself in 2v2s a lot. You're in a 1v1. Like, you will have to challenge the opponent at some point in the 1v1. Otherwise, you're going to let them, you know, fly all the way to you, or, you know, fake you, mind game you, stuff like that. So just be confident and, you know, don't get tilted, and don't blame your teammate for not being back. That's not the right thing to do. Okay, really good touch here, even though it looked really awkward. Puts a lot of pressure on Diaz. Luckily, Diaz is like the best defender in this whole lobby. Apparently he's nuts. Alright. Again, goes on the backboard. He notices that this is probably his only real defensive choice to make here. He gets 27 boost and cuts the offensive pass right off. Like, he gets right in between the passing lane and does a great job at shutting down the offense. That's really unfortunate because this is a really good pass by Jack's teammate. I notice Jack doesn't have to come all the way up this far and try to jump into the ball, which most people would do. They would ignore that their teammate is right by the ball. Jack just kind of spins around and travels throughout the midfield. And funny enough, that's kind of what Parr does here. He travels like this as well, and they get a nice team pass backwards. You know, a back pass is like a huge way to regain possession and reset yourself. Try to get boost. Wow, what an aerial. So I'm not sure if Jack let this guy dunk him. I feel like he did. I feel like he purposefully got dunked, because right now he's not making a rash decision. He's not pushing the ball. He's not going to shoot the ball or throw away the ball. He's just kind of traveling backwards. Grab this boost, and Diaz just doesn't, maybe in Jack's mind, Diaz just doesn't have a great angle, right? I mean, it's hard to drive straight into the corner here and redirect it into the goal. Sorry, there's a really loud motorcycle outside. I don't know if you guys heard that. So I feel like Jack let him dunk him on purpose. And it just kind of bounces off the backboard, and either Jack or his teammate should be aware that they're going to go for the ball as soon as it hits the backboard. It's a really great aerial. Sorry if I pause and play a lot. I just like to do that to like take a mental note of great touches, great plays, great decision making. Alright, so you should be looking for a wow. You should be looking for a 50-50 here, I think. But I guess if you're one of the better players in the world, you can do this too. If you're ever behind the ball and you really don't have much of a shot or a play, like, take a 50. You're really gonna make the defense like disposable, and they're gonna throw away a good opportunity if you get a solid touch on the 50. But if you're one of the better players in the world, you could try something like that. Great recovery. If you noticed at the high level, and when you try to get better at rotating and moving around the pitch, Jack is already supersonic speed. He doesn't even have any boost. And the play after Jack's has only just begun. And what I mean by that is, here's Jack's play. He lands with the wave dash, he's recovered. See how Par's play is just beginning? But Jack's already full speed, and he's already in the midfield, and the orange team is about to touch the ball, and I'm pretty sure Jack might get the next touch. So, as long as you're focusing on your recoveries and getting supersonic and not wasting time in the opponent's half, I think that's something you can learn from Jack here. Unfortunately, the orange team gets a power clear, which is kind of hard to deal with, especially if it goes over your head. But Jack has a lot of experience with touches like this. Now he hits the brakes and kind of does a half flip. I wouldn't recommend hitting the brakes, but the reason Jack can here is because it's not going in his net. He knows it's about to bounce off the wall. And he can get enough speed before it bounces off that backboard with the half flip. But let's just say the ball was like launching right over Jack's head and it was about to go in the goal. Use your momentum to turn like 180 with your power slide button and try to get back that way rather than slowing down and half flipping. Obviously, like, he has a lot more experience than you and I, but I'm quite assured that slowing down and then half flipping is just a bit slower. But I think Jack knew he had plenty of time there, being the only one back. And you can always be deeper, like in 2v2s as second man. You really aren't meant to be risky. In fact, you're supposed to be the opposite. Second man risk-taking is very few and far between, and you want to limit those risks, and that's something that Jack is phenomenal at. He's one of the better risk management players in the world. You notice he doesn't really have the most flashy plays with the ball, but his defense is like really, really good. It's because he doesn't take these risks that most pro players would. This is really smart. You have to recognize that the orange team is double committing here. And you don't need to rush, you don't need to panic, you don't even need to shoot here. That's why Jack flips away from the ball and lets his teammate, you know, follow it up. Unfortunately, it doesn't go in, but that one does, right? A lot of pressure on the opponents when they double commit. I mean, you have a lot of time, especially if they're both still in the air and they're falling. It's not the time to jump and smack the ball as hard as you can, right? Take your time. Okay, a little a little lull in the speed here, but I think he's just collecting boost. And waiting for waiting for overtime. Excuse me. Okay, cheats up, gets a lot of speed. He's aware that the ball goes right, and that the ball is dead center, right? So, and what I mean by center, I mean it goes to the center of the map, meaning we don't know if the ball's gonna head this way or this way next. Excuse me. So, Jack needs to use that risk management that we were just talking about, and really take his time here. So let's see what he does again. Do you notice that right there? It might be hard to tell, but I'll slow the footage down real quick. So just what we talked about. You see what Jack just did right here? He looked with his right stick on his controller to see what Taroko was doing. And he's assessing all the risks, right? Taroko's close. Taroko's gonna jump for this ball probably. And it's really hard to notice that at full speed, because, you know, in these replay reviews, or when you're trying to learn from replays, like, especially from better players, like, you gotta take in all that knowledge, and if he didn't check for Taroko there and he just jumped for the ball, he could have lost the game easily. Okay, so they're on defense now, collecting the ball, not a lot of pressure. That's unfortunate that he gets demoed, but he shouldn't be panicking because Parth has a controlled touch. The key there is controlling the touch. The key is not flip resets, it's not musty flicks, it's just a controlled ball. And what I mean by control is, like, Par has the ball close to his car at all times, right here. And Taroko cannot jump for the ball until the last second. If you can learn to control from defense to offense, that's just like the basics, right, of rotating and getting a possession in defense. Usually you're blocking a shot, or you get a 50-50, or the opponent just misses and you collect the ball. But you gotta put that ball toward the opponent's half, but control it. It's so beneficial to control the ball. That might sound obvious, but you know, maybe to most people that doesn't sound obvious. Maybe most people think that, you know, a musty flick there would be a good shot, but it really wouldn't be. So unfortunate that it turns out to be an L, but Jack tries to check for his teammate here. He gets a bad touch. This is a bad touch, and we can rewind it. He's in a one-on-one. Par bumps the opposing guy with the ball, which is what Par should be doing. He should be relieving all this pressure off of Jack. And then Jack just gets a poor touch here. He wants to push the ball into territory that the opponent will not be controlling, but Taroko's smart and reads this touch and does a very, very good job at turning Jack's attempt at buying himself time into, you really don't get much time at all. Even though he gets the 100, and Par is trying to get back to net, Jack makes a challenge like this, which looks really good. And it looks like it does its job. So we can kind of view the field as a whole here. But it does fall down right into the other dude's hands, and now Par's in a one-on-one, which one-on-ones are pretty easy to lose. Because the guy with the ball can outplay you, right? And that's unfortunate, but what's fortunate about losing a game like this is Jack really only had about 5, maybe 5 or 10 touches and or positional, like, I don't want to call them mistakes, but things that he knows he can do better, right? And maybe not even that many, because he's just such a solid player. And this is like maybe not a replay that he watched, or maybe he did watch this, you know? I'm sure he, you know, maybe not his rank 2's replays, you know, every single one of them. He might not review, but I guarantee you a lot of the games he plays, he reviews. Or he'll make a mental note of things he did wrong and fix them the next time he plays. Or sometimes what good players will do is work on their weaknesses, because it's just something that everyone has. Everyone has weaknesses. And there's a few touches and just really it was just small touches that kind of looked inefficient at times for Jack, but otherwise he played very solid. Actually, the Orange team played just as solid, which is incredible that everyone was playing really well. It just came down to overtime and that last, you know, botch touch. But I think it was a great replay to learn from, and I mean, all replays are great to learn from. But I definitely learned a lot, and I hope you guys did too. And if you like, sorry, my cat's going crazy. If you liked this kind of video, please let me know in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great day.